electrical circuits. And we usually think about I is the quantity that flows. It's a current. And V is equal to voltage. And it's a driving potential that causes current to flow. And the relationship, a relationship, is that I have a voltage difference, so driving potential, divided by an electrical resistance, and that gives me current. And the analog is, for us, Q is a rate of heat transfer. So heat flows. And what our driving potential is a temperature difference. Okay, and so similarly, we're saying the heat that flows is driven by a driving temperature difference, and it's divided by thermal resistance. This is a table from your book, and for people who had heat transfer at U of L, you likely saw this before. If you haven't, I like this chart pretty well. The heading says one-dimensional steady-state solutions to the heat equation with no generation, and so they mean Q dot is equal to 0. And so they put together these equations. So if I started with the heat diffusion equation and I made that list of things, or crossed out terms based on all of those things listed in the heading, one-dimensional, steady state, no volumetric heat generation, this is the equation I end up with. All right, this next one down says temperature distribution. The thing I'm not crazy about on this, and I have it written in most places, I don't have it in this set of notes, but this is T surface 1 minus T surface 2. They don't tell you which direction the delta T is. Heat flux, we got an idea what that is. Rate of heat transfer, we got an idea what that is. The thing that we're going to talk about for a minute is here's what the thermal resistance element looks like. Okay. And I think most of you have seen this before. These are the three geometries we see over and over: plane wall, cylindrical wall, spherical wall. And we've got a thermal resistance element for each of those three geometries. So real quick, it's easy to think about for a plane wall. Oh. Yeah, I should put plane because we're talking about cylindrical walls too. And all right, Fourier's law of conduction is K A dt dx. And I'll go ahead and put the minus sign in there to hold that. But let's kind of simplify this. So K, I'm going to keep my A in here. Let's say I reorder my temperature gradient, and I'm going to call it just a delta T over delta X. Now I want to make this look like, in that previous equation, we saw Q is delta T over a thermal resistance. So let's keep the delta T on top. Okay, so everything else left in that equation besides the delta T must be the thermal resistance. And I called it the delta X. Hopefully think about the fact that this L is the thickness of the wall, and that's the same as the delta X in this equation I wrote below. We could do the same thing over here. So if this is Q, and I got a delta T here, all this other stuff has to be the reciprocal of the thermal resistance. Oh man, okay, there it is. We talked about analog to electrical systems. We already hit that. A reason for making sure you've thought about this analog to electrical systems is that you can combine thermal resistances just like electrical resistance networks. For example, if I have resistors in series, and I like you imagining something, but let's say you're going through a wall, okay? And my wall at school, it's probably cinder block. I bet there's not insulation, but I think there's an air gap and then brick. So it's heat that flows through the wall has 3 chunks of material. It has to pass through 3 thermal resistance elements. That's one that I think is easier. The other case would be resistors in parallel. Because I'm in my office, I like thinking about this, but resistors in parallel would be, for example, I have walls and I have a window. So if I have heat leaving my office, it can either go through the walls or it can go through the window. It's got 2 parallel paths that it could travel. And I like showing 3 just because it makes it more general, but it's still parallel paths that I can have. Yeah, let's do this in here. I should have Q. I get the same Q going all the way through that network in series. Here, I have the same Q starting out, same Q at the end, but it has to branch out through these different resistors. So 3 paths. Okay, I think that's all stuff you have seen before, but wanted to make sure that we got through that. I am going to end lecture for today. We have a few more things to do with thermal resistance elements, and we'll do that next Wednesday. So I think many of you know Monday's Labor Day. We don't have to attend class that day, so I'll see you on Wednesday. My goal, I do not have a next homework set ready for you, but I will try and work on that and get it posted, but it won't be due next Wednesday, so don't worry about that. Okay, I'm going to end, and if I will stay on for a couple minutes in case somebody has a question.
Thanks, Dr. Briab.
Sure. Thanks.